implement an Obama-era policy known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, or DACA. That's a program which grants work permits to immigrants who are brought to the U.S. illegally as children. And though the president expected to delay that move 6 months, it could potentially impact an estimated 1.3 million people eligible for the program, many of whom could try and stay in the U.S. despite being undocumented. So let's bring in Richard Fowler. He's a radio talk show host and Fox News contributor, and Chris Wilson, a former Cruz campaign pollster and CEO of WPA Intelligence. Thank you both for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So we mentioned the 1.3 million people eligible, but participating right now is about 800,000 who actually have it. And that seems to be the biggest issue. What to do with these people who came forward believing that they would be able to stay. Richard, what do you think should be done?
Well, I think we've got to keep this program, and here's why. 91% of those individuals who are DACA students or DACA individuals, right? They either have jobs, or they're in school, or they're serving actively in our military. So they're contributing to America. And let me be very clear about these individuals. Many of them came here at age 0 to 15, right? So they went to our schools, they were on our soccer teams, they were on our hockey teams, they speak English, some of them don't even know Spanish, right? They came to this country, they want to be Americans, they're contributing to our economy, and the fact that this president wants to turn his back on them after saying that he loved them on Friday is disheartening, and it's sad. And it speaks to the fact that he wants to speak to a small percentage of Americans when 78% of Americans believe that DACA students and Dreamers should stay in this country.
Well, Sarah Sanders did say that the president loves children. He wants to make sure that this decision is done correctly. And so he is, trying to do the right thing. Chris, what do you think?
Well, I think the challenge that exists with the president and how he deals with this is that you've got to look at a little bit of the history of the DACA program. Let's not forget that this was a cynical attempt by Barack Obama, after he'd already said it was illegal to do, to try and increase registration going into the 2012 election because his aides panicked that Hispanic registration was below 2008. That's been documented in books since then, so it's not even worth arguing about. So now it leaves a situation that several attorney generals have recognized the illegal nature of their decision and trying to decide how to deal with it. Richard's right about the public opinion. It is on the side of allowing these children to stay here. And I think he's also right in the fact that they have become productive members of society. So you now have a situation that Congress has got to act. And the question is how they act. And I think probably the best solution here would be some sort of path to amnesty, path to citizenship, if you will. But it's got to be in a trade for something like E-Verify, maybe a pathway or citizen migrantship. There's a few different deals that could be made that I think could allow a situation that could be reached in a bipartisan nature. I know it's crazy to say that that could be done right now in Congress, but that's the only way this stays. And really, Trump has been forced into a situation here that if he doesn't, the courts are most likely going to throw this out.
Right. You mentioned those states. I think it was 10 states specifically, and they set a deadline of September 5th. So the president was forced to take some sort of action. September was going to be a busy month already for Congress, Richard, and that was before we had Hurricane Harvey. So do you think that this is something that they can get done? And when in the long run, would this actually benefit Dreamers by allowing them to stay here legally and by the process being done the right way?
So don't get me wrong, I think there has to be a pathway to citizenship. I think there was a time in Congress where we could get it done. I think Barack Obama tried his hardest to get it done. He had the Gang of Eight a couple years back, and then Republicans balked, and we couldn't get it done. Will Donald Trump be able to get this some sort of DREAM Act or some sort of DREAM Act done? I find that hard to believe. But let's be very clear here. This act by the president, what he's going to do tomorrow, is mean-spirited, and this idea that, there's a 6-month delay, so that makes it okay because Congress will act.
But as it stands right now, DACA is unconstitutional, so something has to be done.
That's actually not true. There was a lower court that ruled that, but there are attorney generals, including the Attorney General of Tennessee, that has said, hey, listen, I'm removing myself from this case because I think these students should actually remain in this country. So there's a lot of shades of gray on this particular case, and what it leads to is this. These 800,000 individuals, they paid the $500 application fee. They have contributed to society. They want to be they want to be Americans. They want to contribute to the American dream. And the fact that we, as a nation of immigrants, are turning our backs on them is problematic at best.
So, Chris,
period.
you get the final word quickly.
Well, I think to look at the Constitution as mean-spirited is frankly represents the entire problem that exists on the left right now. It's like, let's ignore the law, let's ignore the Constitution, let's ignore 200 years of precedent here to just say, oh, well, let's do what feels good and makes people happy. I mean, it's absolutely absurd.
years of
The law is
precedent.
clear on this, and it's going to be thrown out.
All right.
And it's
Ronald
going to.
Reagan
The
had
fact
instant
is that
amnesty
it's
in
gonna-
1985
Congress has to deal with
with
this.
Nicaragua.
And
So I
Congress
mean,
has
I think.
passed.
Richard,
I think
Chris, we have to wrap it up, and you're talking over each other at this point anyway, but we appreciate it, and we'll see what the president does do tomorrow. Allegedly, he's going to do it. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Heather.